Good afternoon, Fed Phoenix fam. So, earlier today, a term was thrown out, felon disenfranchisement. And if you want to know more about this, just simply Google the term felon disenfranchisement. And there's a mountain of information on Google, including statistics and things like that. But I find it very bothersome, right? Because where I went to prison, a minimum security women's prison camp, the vast majority, and I mean majority, of the 700 women I did time with were nonviolent, victimless crimes like my own. These are people who a judge could have, within and been acting within reason, sentenced them to serve their time on home confinement in what's called community custody. These are people who, had they been given probation and a suspended sentence, some community service, whatever, alternative sentencing, something other than prison time, it would not have been an earth-shattering decision for the judge to make. Wouldn't have been, a clutch your pearls moment. Um, so felon disenfranchisement is what I want to talk to you about. So here's the thing. When I got back custody of my youngest child, shortly after I came home from prison, he was with family while I was incarcerated. When I got him in school, I thought about joining the PTA, right? Because I'm a PTA kind of mom. I'm very proactive. I'm very involved, And prior to my door getting kicked in, 4 years ago, I was a member of my Elks. I was a member of my neighborhood watch. Even now, our PTA is having a fundraiser to sell raffle tickets, and we are going door to door selling. So I wanted to join the PTA. And I had mentioned this to another mom I know whose kid is in the same class and grade in school as mine. And she said, don't do it. Don't try to join the PTA. And I was like, why? I want to be as involved as I can be in, what goes on at school and extracurriculars. And she said, yeah. She said that she had a drug felony that was like 7, 8 years old, nonviolent, victimless. She had tried to join the PTA last year. And they do a background check, which for some things is understandable. I wouldn't want someone having any access to my child, beyond the minimal that they have in society if they have been convicted of harming children, even harming like elderly people or animals, because this shows a pattern of behavior that you're a victimizer, you're a predator. And so absolutely keep this person away from my child. I completely agree with background checks on that premise. Or if a person had a long sordid history of violence or a recent history of violence, a lot of domestics or, DUIs or whatever. But she said, don't do it. She said, because they're going to run a background check. And she said, if you're a felon, you can't join the PTA. They're not going to let you. And not only that, but two, because yours is a drug felony, referring to mine. She said, not only will they not let you join the PTA, but they will treat you like a third-rate citizen, and they will not want their child interacting with yours. So like when invites come out for birthday parties and that kind of thing amongst the kids, expect to get skipped over, because there will be this assumption amongst this elitist PTA group that your child comes from a bad home, therefore would be a bad influence on their child. And it really pissed me off, honestly, and it really frustrated me, because I'm one of those people, my free time, I help people in my community find resources. And I'm not saying that for free, of course. And I'm not saying that to like talk myself up, but just to kind of illustrate my character. I'm not a person of horrible character. Am I a person who made the horrible decision of being far too closely associated with someone who I knew was making a lot of crap decisions? Absolutely. That was me. And did I choose to underestimate another person's stupidity and recklessness because it was convenient for what I wanted to tell myself and believe about that person, that logically, being a person with an above average IQ, I knew was BS? I did. Did I stick my head in the sand to someone else's crap because I had this glorious delusion that they would change one day, knowing they wouldn't? That's me. And with that delusion, did I put myself and, as much as I'm ashamed to admit, my family in danger? Yeah. And did, for that one, all of that being one situation, one scenario, one incident, did me and my loved ones, and more importantly them than me, Did we all suffer tremendously and still do? Abso-freaking-lutely. So, after all that's said and done, I've done my time. I've done more than my time. Matter of fact, I have paperwork from the old prison showing that I overserved my sentence because of an error on their behalf. And now I can't be on the PTA. I can't be a mom who's going on field trips and, doing stuff that PTA moms get to do. I can't have a say in policy changes that could benefit my child and your child at our school. I don't have a voice. My child doesn't get an equal amount of representation simply because I was convicted of a felony where no one was harmed, where it was a crime of association. It wasn't a crime of intent, meaning, I was not the person who was criming. I was an associate of the person criming who, did not act as responsibly as I should have. Am I turning a blind eye to things? So now my kid doesn't get to have a mom in the PTA. How the F does that work? And then I was thinking even deeper about this, right? And I was like, wait a minute. Felon disenfranchisement. So I believe in some states I cannot vote if I were to live in them. I think felons cannot vote in a presidential vote, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I've always dreamed of going to India one day, which is beyond my budget and means and probably always will be, but I've always dreamed of it, right? I fell in love with India a long time ago through Encyclopedia Britannicas, back before the internet. And throughout life, the more I make and eat, of course I eat, but I've learned to make delicious homemade Indian food because I'm that in love with Indian culture. I'm that in love with the diversity, the vibrantness of it. And I've always dreamed that, one day my ashes would be scattered in India, particularly in the Ganges River. And not because I'm not Hindu or anything, but the significance and the history of that and just the culture is so profound to me that I want my final resting place to be there, right? Well, guess what is one of the countries I can never in my life visit, ever, period. Because I'm a felon. Unless, of course, I'm sure if I was a millionaire, they'd find an exception to be made. But as a regular person, as a felon, guess what is one of the I think there's like half a dozen countries that under no circumstances will ever allow me to visit. India. So my dream of India tanked for the rest of my life. Even though I didn't even do anything. I turned a blind eye to what someone else was doing. One time, I spent a year and a half on bond, had my door kicked in, had myself and my children traumatized, went through a custody battle as a result of this. The mental turmoil I'm still going through. And then went from in a 9-month window, got a federal target letter, had a plea hearing, was, pushed by the attorney to hurry up and just agree to take a felony conviction. Was told that was in my best interest, and I feel like he probably was right, but I don't know now. I question it often. And honestly, I was in no mind state at that time to make that decision. But got sentenced and self-surrendered to prison, and then spent 16 months in prison. I've been home for 6. So my life has been a shit show that has not only dramatically affected me, but more importantly, affected those closest to me and those I love, innocent parties and all of this, for the last 4 years. Have I not done enough? Have I not been punished enough? I can't join the PTA, can't vote in a lot of places under a lot of circumstances. I can never see India. Most landlords would probably never rent to me. And as a person who rents, that's a problem to carry that on your shoulders for the rest of your life, knowing that most landlords would not be willing to even give me a chance. And mind you, I'm still a single parent of a small child, so it's not like I just have myself to take care of, in the grand scheme of things. Additionally, I've lost my gun rights for the rest of my life. I live in a state where hunting is very pro-gun state, and also a very big drug state. So one, I can never take my son hunting, never be part of that. I can never have a pistol in my house like I did before my door got raided, solely for the purpose of, if, because of the high drug problem, which of course goes hand in hand with high crime problem, if, God forbid, some people hopped up on drugs or to break in my house, especially meaning me and my child harm, I'd be able to protect myself and protect us and our home. That option has been taken off the table for me for the rest of my life. And most states have policies and laws where if you stayed out of trouble for a period of time, if you can prove that you're not living a criminal lifestyle and all that kind of stuff, you can eventually regain your gun rights, your voting rights. You can even get your felony expunged. In the federal system, it pretty much never happens. I mean, you can get a presidential pardon, but that's under very rare, unique circumstances, which I just quite frankly don't meet any of the criteria for. So when we talk about felon disenfranchisement, we're not talking about a measure taken to protect the general public from dangerous people, because that's not even, more often than not, that's not even applicable. What we're talking about is a group of individuals, a large percentage of the population, in fact, being disenfranchised wrongly well beyond the punishment of their criminal conduct. Indefinitely, for the rest of their lives. The stigmatization, the you carry this felon label on your shoulders, and so you will always have a foot in your back. You will always be the underdog. You will always be the person, if you get a job that involves money and something comes up missing, that people are going to be looking sideways at, even if you're the most honest person on the planet, the least shady. You can't join your kid's PTA. I mean, I understand a background check for safety purposes, but nonviolent drug offenders, particularly like the other person I was talking to whose crime was 10 freaking years ago when she was an active addict. I mean, make it make sense to me. Make it make sense. It's really an overwhelming thing. And if you really give it critical thought and go down the rabbit hole of what will it mean that I'm a federal felon? How will this impact me for the rest of my life? And there's just so many ways. I mean, I Googled it and the lists were, my head was spinning. I had to just get off of it before I had a freaking anxiety attack. Or started crying. God knows, y'all know I can get a little emotional. But this is the reality. And it's not okay. And it's disgusting and it's discriminatory. And I think for some things a background check is appropriate. And I think for some things, certain felonies should certainly limit certain things. Like I said, I don't want a child molester in the PTA, for sure. I don't think someone who has multiple felony domestic violences should be able to own a gun, at least not for a period of maybe 10 or 15 years until they can kind of prove that they are a different person than they were when they committed their crimes. But people like me, if I read on the felon disenfranchisement stuff, as I was reading, I learned that if I was to ever have an adult partnership and we live together, this person can also not have any handguns or any firearms in the home because I live there. And if it's discovered there are firearms in the home while I'm living there, then I go to prison again. So they need to keep their firearms outside of our residence so that I don't go back to prison, even though no crime is being committed, or probably, I'm sure, not even attending in any way to be committed. Make it make sense. I mean, really, make it make sense. So I wanted to really just make this video, I'm going to cut it short, to just really bring attention to the issue of felon disenfranchisement and just how horrible it is and how much it's so counterproductive and detrimental to people that are the felons that are trying to have a normal, whatever that can be, a normal, productive life and role in society. And it's an Achilles heel that the system refuses to provide any relief for. And that's not okay. It's not. I can never rejoin the Elks because I'm a felon. And that was, I had no crimes associated with that. I was a happy, proud, supportive member of an organization that supported my community. And I was passionate. I'm still passionate about that. But that's been taken away from me too for the rest of my life. So just something to think about. But in the meantime, I, of course, will have my email in the description if you'd like to contact me. Fed Phoenix, this is our second YouTube channel, and at this point, the only one that I have control over, I'll be contributing to. If you hit like the video. If you hit notifications, please hit all. If you hit select, then the algorithm will kind of decide for you what you want to see, and you'll probably miss some good stuff. And of course, we have a merch line now. Well, I have a merch line now. I say we because you're the Fed Phoenix fam. I feel like, as peculiar as it may sound, I feel like we're in this together. I've definitely gotten a lot of support and been able to give a lot of support to others through Fed Phoenix on YouTube. And hopefully my book will drop next summer. My memoirs of the 16 months that I served in federal prison. So, and I'm going to publish on Amazon, KDP, and I believe I'm going to call the book Into the Fire. So there's that. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And, do you think at some point for federal felons there should be a fresh start? Or for federal felons, there should be context taken into consideration in how background checks do or do not affect us, for various things like PTA or gun ownership or traveling to India. I'd love to hear your opinion on it. So, and no matter what you're going through right now, Fed Phoenix fam, this is just a slice of your life, and you will get through it because you have to. So, good day, God bless, and I would love to hear everyone's opinions.